Hello everyone, it's Vivi and welcome. On January 18th, Microsoft announced that Activision would be joining Team Xbox. To word this differently, Microsoft is in the process of acquiring Activision. Microsoft's gaming CEO Phil Spencer spoke of the matter via a blog post on that same day. The article starts by acknowledging IPs under Activision. Not just Call of Duty, aka their financial juggernaut, or their other IPs, but other franchises like Crash and Spyro as well. Right off the bat, this video will place major emphasis on both Crash and Spyro, as the title of the video suggests. Acquiring a company such as Activision also comes with ownership of its game developers. Spencer goes on by listing a bunch of developers which come with this acquisition. More notably, Beanox and Toys for Bob when it comes to Spyro and Crash. In 2017 we got PS4 timed exclusive Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy, a remake of the classic Naughty Dog trilogy. This one was developed by Vicarious Visions. The team later merged with Blizzard in late January 2021. The game then went multi-platform, PC, Switch, and Xbox 1 year later. In 2018, Toys for Bob brought us Spyro Reignited Trilogy on PS4 and Xbox. Roughly 1 year later, the game released on PC and Switch. Beanox brought us a remake of Crash Team Racing in 2019. It released on PS4, Xbox, and on the Nintendo Switch. In 2020, we got a sequel to Crash Warped, titled It's About Time, Xbox and PS4 when it first launched. Later in March, we got one for the Xbox Series X, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and PC. If by any chance you owned the game on previous generation, you're entitled to a free upgrade. Crash on the Run by Candy Crush developer King, who were actually acquired by Activision back in 2016. The main takeaway from all this, multi-platform. Both Spyro and Crash went multi-platform. With Spyro and Crash now under Xbox or Microsoft, fear and doubt might naturally arise. And this fear revolves around commonly asked questions surrounding the fate of Crash and Spyro. Questions such as, does this mean we'll be getting more Spyro and Crash games, or what? Does this mean Crash and Spyro will become exclusive? Looking at both IPs, the answer to such questions is, it's foggy. We do not have a concrete yes or no answer. To try and get a possible idea of the fate of these two, let's go over stuff we do know. Actual statements from Microsoft's gaming CEO Phil Spencer. On January 20th, according to an interview from Washington Post, Spencer explained that the Xbox team will talk to developers about working on a variety of franchises from Activision Blizzard and how he's looking forward to it. Spencer added, "We're hoping that we'll be able to work with them when the deal closes to make sure we have resources to work on franchises that I love from my childhood and that the teams really want to get." An important factor in his statement is when the deal closes. As stated in the beginning of the video, the acquisition of Activision is still processing, at least until 2023. When he announced this acquisition, he explained that until the deal closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft will continue to operate independently. So his statement talking to developers and how they're still independent until the deal closes, it sounds like a plan for the future. Although he doesn't specify which developer they'll talk to, the fact he mentions his childhood could possibly be a hint at, say, Toys for Bob, the ones who brought us It's About Time, the latest entry to consoles, or even looking at Spyro, for example. Back in July 2021, Spencer stated, "I think there's an opportunity for us with more family-friendly content." Since they have a handful of developers with 3D platformer experience under their umbrella, Beanox, Toys for Bob, yes, both of these teams turned into COD support teams. But let's not forget the fact that Spencer wants to talk to these developers, what these teams really want to get, as he stated. Would Toys for Bob want to develop more Crash games, or Spyro games even? Well, perhaps we have a little something. Take this as you will. Toys for Bob's co-studio head Paul Yan liked this tweet referencing Spencer's statement regarding talks with these developers. Now that Crash and Spyro are under Microsoft's umbrella, whether or not we get a new game anytime soon, be it Crash 5, Spyro 4, whatever it may be, would we be looking at multi-platform? Because from what we've gathered over the years, when Activision was solo, aka prior to the buyout, Crash and Spyro were multi-platform, except for the timed exclusive part for Insane Trilogy. Well, we did get a few statements here and there, both from Sony and Activision. Let's first start with that same blog post we mentioned before, the one from Spencer on January 18th. Spencer explained, Activision Blizzard games are enjoyed on a variety of platforms, and we plan to continue to support those communities moving forward. A Q&A sheet was submitted to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC). Within this sheet, one would read, "We will honor all existing commitments post-close. As with Microsoft's acquisition of Minecraft, we have no intent to remove any content from platforms where it exists today." To pretty much reiterate such statement, a Sony spokesperson explained over on the Wall Street Journal, "We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform." That's not all. To further ensure folks that contractual agreements will be abided, Spencer on Twitter shared this tweet, honoring all keyword existing agreements upon acquisition. This is where folks get a bit skeptical. For all we know, this could all be just PR talk. Already existing contracts will be honored, but what does that mean for the future? Let's get one thing out of the way. Call of Duty is Call of Duty. Huge fan base on PlayStation, ranking as top sales on both PS4 and PS5 over the years. Here's an example for you. Top downloads for 2021, PlayStation Store. Both PS5 and PS4 have Call of Duty listed. This was a blog post from PlayStation on January 12th. Long story short, Call of Duty, as stated previously, is a money juggernaut. To further add on to this, on the 22nd of January, Jason Schreier wrote an article over on Bloomberg, stating that even after the acquisition deal closes, Activision is committed to releasing at least the next 3 Call of Duty games on PlayStation even after the Xbox acquisition. However, when looking at IPs like Crash and Spyro, will the same apply? You see, this is where we don't have an answer. Xbox General Manager of Games Marketing, Aaron Greenberg, has a Twitter profile picture with Crash. From the stuff I've seen, this seemed to cause a lot of anger. Even with Xbox acknowledging Crash this way at least, folks might still have skepticism. Disregarding Call of Duty's money printing machine, imagining Crash and Spyro under the same treatment long term? Well, many bring up the Bethesda situation. That's where all the doubt might stem from. Look at what happened to Bethesda, is something I've lost count reading. Out of curiosity, ladies and gents, I present to you the Bethesda Situation. A timeline. September 21st, 2020, Microsoft announces Bethesda acquisition. Phil tells Bloomberg that they will honor Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo's PS5 timed exclusivity. After all, back in December 2020, PlayStation published a video titled New and Upcoming Games PS5. For both Deathloop and Ghostwire, we had a note that said also available on PC, not available on other consoles for 12 months. As for the plan for future Bethesda titles, release them on PC and Xbox Game Pass, said Phil in a blog post. As for other platforms, Phil stated it will be handled on a case-by-case basis. Following the announcement of this acquisition, studio director of ZeniMax Online Studios shares a tweet. Elder Scrolls Online reassures fans that it will continue to support it exactly as it was. March 9th, 2021, Phil officially welcomes Bethesda to Team Xbox. Acquisition of ZeniMax, being the parent company of Bethesda, is complete. Phil states that Xbox consoles, PC, and Game Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games. This also includes some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. June 13th, 2021, Bethesda shares teaser trailer of Starfield. Lo and behold, it's Xbox and PC exclusive. Starfield was first announced on June 10th, 2018, way before the acquisition. Exclusivity in this case could have been due to a non-standing agreement. June 16th, 2021, Pete Hines, Bethesda's Senior Vice President of Global Communications, was interviewed by GameSpot. Regarding Starfield, he said, "Sorry, all I can really say is I apologize." He later reiterates his statement on Twitter. He didn't apologize for the exclusivity thing of Starfield, but for how fans feel, acknowledging how they feel. June 17th, 2021. Although this one doesn't involve Bethesda, I thought it'd be a great example of honoring previous contracts or agreements. Psychonauts 2, owned by Double Fine Productions, was crowdfunded originally. It's still released on PS4 and Xbox after being acquired in 2019. The game was in pre-alpha before the acquisition. Double Fine reassured fans on Twitter that the game would still release multi-platform. The game later released on August 25th, 2021. November 9th, 2021, during IGN's Unfiltered number 61, Bethesda's Todd Howard mentioned how they had a one-pager of Fallout 5, a vision, a concept of the game. In other words, Fallout 5 is way far off. He added, "I'd like to find a way to accelerate what we do, but I can't really say today or commit to anything like what's going to happen when." Naturally, as we approach such game in the future, some worry about exclusivity, since 2015's Fallout 4 was multi-platform, PS4, PC, and Xbox One. November 15th, 2021. Phil seems to indicate that Elder Scrolls 6 will be Xbox exclusive. He says, "It's not about punishing any other platform. Like, I fundamentally believe all of the platforms can continue to grow, but in order to be on Xbox, I want us to be able to bring the full complete package of what we have. And that will be true when I think about Elder Scrolls 6. That will be true when I think about any of our franchises." What we can gather from all this? Microsoft honored previous or existing agreements, but once that agreement was over, Microsoft completely took over because there was no more contractual obligations. And again, going back to Spencer's tweet, he does seem to put emphasis on existing agreements. What this screams out, Microsoft seems to be putting in money in the hopes of releasing exclusive games in the future. Something we have to consider. The acquisition of Activision cost $70 billion. $70 billion. Microsoft hoping to make games exclusive post-contract and agreement? Does that really sound far-fetched if you really sit down and think about it? Another one I come across a lot is, at least in terms of a classic 3D platformer, is Banjo-Kazooie. I read a lot of, "Look at what happened to Banjo." Some thinking that Microsoft forgot about this IP. Well, the thing about that, apart from Banjo being featured in Smash of course, back in October 2020, Phil Spencer stated that the likes of Banjo and Conker even, all that is up to Rare. If ever Rare decides to make Banjo, they'll have the green light. Well, at least it seems that way looking back at this article. Going back to Phil's previous statement, to make sure we have resources to work on franchises that I love from my childhood, well now, they don't just have Rare. They also have devs behind Crash and Spyro, Beanox, and Toys for Bob. Here's a fun thought. Would Toys for Bob ever tackle Banjo? If Spencer was so keen on letting Rare decide if they want to make Banjo or not, then what about Toys for Bob? They got new potential teams for that. As stated before, all this thinking process of Crash and Spyro going exclusive in the future is completely up in the air. Once these contractual agreements end, Microsoft would technically be free to decide what to do with future games. Whether or not they feel sales on PlayStation would warrant multi-platform is a mystery. Yes, Insane Trilogy had millions of sales on PlayStation when it first launched, but there's one factor we need to consider. It was a timed exclusive. Whatever game is in development right now, be it the mysterious Wumpa League, which by the way I did make a video on in the past, Crash 5 or Spyro 4, those could be worked on behind closed doors right now, or no one really knows, and could very well likely be part of an existing contract with Sony. With that being said, folks, this is it for the video. If you have your own thoughts, questions, or anything, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. And as always, I've been Vivi, and thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.